Royal Main Road, impossible. Impossible. Port Royal Main Road, impossible.
Flash flooding all over the place tonight. Hurricane Beryl is roaring past Jamaica, leaving a path of destruction behind it. And as it gets closer to the Gulf of Mexico, the question remains, how many more people will start feeling Beryl's wrath? I'm Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. And Hurricane Beryl has smashed Jamaica's southern coast as a Category 4 storm, becoming the strongest hurricane to hit that island in a decade. With 140-mile-an-hour winds and heavy rain, the people of Jamaica are prepping for a dangerous storm surge that could lead to 9 feet of water along that coast. The storm has already killed at least 7 people across the Caribbean and hit the tiny island nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines so hard that officials there are calling the destruction, quote, Armageddon-like. Now, the Cayman Islands and Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula are bracing for impact, and it is still a big gamble whether Beryl is headed for Texas. And this is all happening as more than 35% of the U.S. population is now under heat alerts. The West Coast specifically, where a brutal heat wave here has the potential to last through next week. And high heat means higher risk of wildfires. Right now, there's a fire called the Thompson Fire raging in Northern California. There is a state of emergency there as the fire has forced thousands of evacuations, has destroyed buildings, and hurt at least 4 firefighters. Our team is tracking it all tonight. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns will have the forecast. Liz Kreutz is in Oroville, California. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Sam Brock in Kingston, Jamaica. Sam, you're in the hurricane right now. What conditions are you seeing?
So finally, Gadi, things are starting to calm down a little bit. Look, these were the outer bands that we've been experiencing in Kingston for the last 4 or 5 hours. I would say at about 3:30 local time, it just really started to pick up, and we ended up seeing wind gusts that were exceeding 70 or 80 miles an hour. The highest one clocked in Kingston was 81 miles an hour at the airport. And so it's sort of been on and off since then. What was frightening about that is the fact that those are the outer bands. If this particular system, right, if Hurricane Beryl had just tracked 30 or 40 miles north of where it was, churning in at 140 miles an hour sustained winds, we could have been seeing something 50%, 60% worse than what we did today, which would have been a terrifying thought as you look at all those visuals right now that you're playing. Homes that are, structurally questionable. I mean, I'm told from folks here that they use cement and steel, that the foundations are deep, but it's just the roofs that are a problem. They're made out of zinc and they flip off. We saw a little bit of that today in terms of some structural damage to homes in Kingston and really along the southeastern portion of Jamaica. But for the most part, they dodged a bullet, and it is a really good thing, Gadi, because there was all sort of communication efforts from the part of the mayor here in Kingston to the Prime Minister of Jamaica to convince people who are in low-lying areas, don't stay there, go to the shelters that we're offering you. And in many cases, and this was documented by the mayor, he was in these communities asking them, begging them, please, can you leave? And they refused to do so. So they got lucky. That's video from earlier today also when we were just driving around the streets. Curfew from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. I don't know how many folks were actually abiding by that, but it was definitely eerie to drive around and just see nothing for a period of time. But things absolutely calming down from where they were a few hours ago.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like Jamaica got a little bit lucky there. I mean, even your signal is holding strong, and that's always a telltale sign of how bad things are. And yet there are still reports coming in from some of the other islands that were hit. Do we know how bad some of these Armageddon-like conditions were?
So I'm hearing now from a colleague actually at the NBC station in Miami who has family in Jamaica. She says that one of her good friend's father had a piece of his roof torn off in Mandeville Parish. That's about an hour away. We're talking about a whole different parish from where we are right now. This system is moving west. Negril, Montego Bay, potentially experiencing some impacts right now. It might not be clear exactly what we're going to be looking at once, the sun is up tomorrow and the system is totally out of the way. I will say the biggest concern I was hearing from people on the ground here was that they thought they would be compromising their communications. You mentioned the fact our signal has remained strong. They would lose Wi-Fi, or the ability to communicate with loved ones, or electricity when you're talking about vulnerable populations. And I spoke with 2 women who were just buying last-second supplies and eloquently described for me their levels of concerns. Take a listen.
Not everybody can afford generators. It's not everybody can afford solar. So for the one that live in the inner city like us, we just have to give thanks and praise that the water and the light don't go away.
Our flashlights and our headlights.
Yes.
We don't know exactly, Gadi, how many power outages there are tonight, but we do know that the local provider had to pause restoration for the system to get out of here, for Beryl to move on. And they plan on fixing that tomorrow once conditions are safer. But it is fair to say that it was not the widespread sort of outages that were deeply feared. Gadi.
Thank goodness. Sam Brock, a little bit of good news there. Thank you. Now let's turn now to some extreme heat that is fueling wildfires like the Thompson fire here in California. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz joins us now from Oroville. Liz, you've got some burned wreckage behind you. How are efforts going there to contain the fire, and what's it doing right now?
Hey, Gadi. Well, right now, the latest update, it is more than 3,500 acres and still 0% contained. It has been a tough haul for these firefighters working over the past 24 hours to get this fire under control. We are waiting on the latest update from CAL FIRE. Hopefully that comes in the next couple hours, and we're hoping they've made some progress on the fire. The winds have picked up, but do seem a little lighter than they had been before, so that's hopefully some good news here. But the biggest challenge, Gadi, has really been the heat. It is so hot, triple-digit temperatures. It is making things very hard for the firefighters on the ground here. You know how hot their uniforms and their gear and equipment are, and we're told that 8 firefighters have been injured battling this fire, and some of them from heat-related illnesses, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, all of that so dangerous as they're out here trying to get this fire under control.
Meanwhile, we're also hearing that the heat is canceling 4th of July events. Can you tell us what's happening there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, those who live in this area in Oroville, 30,000 people right now are evacuated. So those 4th of July plans certainly are being changed right now. I mean, you can see, unfortunately, the person who lives in this home here, their home is gone. There's 2 cars there burned to a crisp. It's just always so sad to see this kind of destruction and devastation from a fire. But, Gadi, in the Bay Area, the town of Antioch in the East Bay also going to see triple-digit temperatures. They are canceling their 4th of July parade because of the excessive heat warning. And in the North Bay, the heart of wine country in Napa County, St. Helena says that they are going to cancel their fireworks display because of the concern that fireworks can have and the fire danger there that could ignite a fire.
And Liz, we've also been following these reports of some heat-related deaths down in Arizona. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so Maricopa County has said that so far there have been 13 deaths, heat-related deaths this year so far. That is more than this time last year. And remember, Gadi, last year there were a record number of deaths in Maricopa County from heat. 162 deaths so far this year are now under investigation for potentially being related to heat. So we are already seeing these heat waves become deadly. It is a deadly weather event. We've been saying this, but it's just worth repeating that more people die from heat than any other weather-related event. So it is serious, and it is hot out here, and we know it's going to last for several more days here out west in California. Las Vegas could hit a record. Death Valley could hit a record. Many areas could hit record-breaking heat over the next few days, Gadi.
Thank you, Liz. And as we brace for the heat, we're also taking a look at what to expect around the country as we head into the 4th of July weekend and the holiday. Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, what should people be ready for as they gear up for this holiday weekend?
Travel has been amazingly clear today, and it doesn't look like bad over the next couple of days. Really, the heat headlines, Gadi, is the issue. I mean, it is going to be like the hottest 4th of July ever on record, coast to coast when we add it all up. I mean, we've been obviously watching that fire near the Oroville area. It's 106 right now still in Oroville. I mean, and that's just a taste of what's to come over, the next 4 to 5 days. 120 million people under heat alert. So many people as we go through the 4th are just going to be trying to find a place to cool off in the shade, pool, beach, lake, all through the west. That's the dry, very hot. And then in the south, it is humid, and it is just, you walk outside and you start sweating in 2 seconds from Memphis all the way down to New Orleans. And even Washington, D.C. has now snuck into this, too. So not many spots in the country that aren't going to experience this heat. And 150 record high temperatures are expected over the next 5 days. I mean, this isn't your normal heat wave. And Vegas is kind of the poster child for it. It's never been over 117 in Las Vegas. They've done that a couple times. We're expecting to tie that on Sunday. And right now, the forecast is for the hottest ever temperature recorded in in Vegas on Monday at 118. I know that Redding is also expected to do the same also, Gadi. So just incredible heat there. And, Palm Springs, you're going to be up there. I know at Death Valley is where everyone wants to see how hot it's going to get there. They should be approaching 130 degrees. So it's really interior California, the desert Southwest, and then just plain old hot through the south of the country. As I said, Gadi, there's going to be some thunderstorms, but not enough to be ruining people's fourths.
Gosh, those temperatures are crazy. And Bill, we know that Hurricane Beryl made landfall in Jamaica, but what kind of update do you have on the storm as it makes its way towards the United States?
Yeah, all eyes on northern Mexico and also, South Texas to wait to see who's going to deal with this. That'll be the final destination of Beryl. So the storm is right along the coast of Jamaica. That northern eye has been just raking the coast. So the pictures you've seen so far are nothing. It hasn't really shown you much. That was the eastern half of the island. But tomorrow you will see devastation in the southern half here. These towns on the southern coast that have been in the 140-mile-per-hour wind gusts, that's where we're going to see people losing their homes, people without power for possibility of weeks. Now the storm is exiting, and as we go from here, we're going to watch, the Cayman Islands will get brushed as we go throughout the night tonight. That's not a direct hit. And then another landfall somewhere south of Tulum, maybe a Category 2, possibly a Category 1. So, kind of a slap. That area is kind of built for storms. They get hit often, but still, it's still going to have some damage. And then we have this, wide area of cone of uncertainty that goes from the Texas coast all the way down here to Tampico. Our spaghetti models, the lines of all our different computers that kind of give us guidance, they're kind of starting to converge on somewhere south of Brownsville. There's still a couple of outliers, and we got 4 days for this to change. And what's nice is that our two major long-range models, the European and also the American, are in pretty good agreement in a similar vicinity here. So confidence has gained, Gadi, that we are going to have to deal with this in northern portions of Mexico, southern Texas in some extent. But as of now, it does not look to be a beast of a storm like it is.
Hopefully it stays that way. Bill Cairns, thank you. Yeah. Now, this 4th of July weekend is shaping up to be a record-breaking one for travel. AAA is saying more than 70 million Americans are expected to hit the road and skies for the holiday, which is a 5% bump compared to last year. NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar has more from one of the busiest airports in the country, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta.
Hey, Gadi, yeah, we're at the busiest airport in the world, and it's also expected to be one of the busiest for this July 4th holiday travel period. In addition to that, rounding out the top three are Denver and Dallas-Fort Worth airports. So if you're planning on heading to one of those three airports in the next few days, make sure you leave enough time for your departure. But this is expected to be record-breaking travel, with AAA projecting that 70 million Americans will be traveling 50 miles or more away from home. The vast majority of them, 60 million or so, will be hitting the roads, with the average gas price at around $3.50 per gallon, which is the lowest it's been in a few years. Here at the airports, the TSA says that they're prepared for this volume of passengers. They're expecting 2.7 million people to pass through the TSA checkpoints today, and they say that they are ready for that because every day there's been close to around 3 million people passing through those checkpoints. One of the things they're doing to make sure that they're prepared is asking for volunteer TSA agents to go to airports that might not be so accustomed to this high volume of passengers. And they have very ambitious goals. They say they're hoping to get people through those checkpoints within 30 minutes. And if you have TSA pre-check, that they're hoping to get you through those checkpoints within 10 minutes. But they say there are 3 things you can do to help them out. Number 1 is make sure you leave enough time before your departure to get to the airport so you're not rushing through those lines. Another tip, they say, is to thoroughly inspect your luggage, especially if you plan on taking a carry-on on board your plane. Make sure that you don't have any items that are not allowed there. So those are just a few things you can do. And the final thing they say is to, of course, pack your patience, be kind to your fellow passengers and everyone else that's working in the airport. Gadi?
Priya, thank you. And we are following some breaking news tonight. NBC News has learned that Sean Diddy Combs is now officially the subject of a federal criminal investigation, according to 2 sources. And those same sources say that a federal grand jury is hearing evidence related to that investigation. This could lead to an indictment for Diddy, but right now there are no indications that charges are imminent. Neither the U.S. Attorney's Office or Combs' attorneys have responded to requests for comment. This news comes after separate raids on houses on Combs' properties that he owns in both Los Angeles and Miami back in March. And turning now to the burning question swirling over the Biden campaign today: Will the president stay in the race? The fallout continues tonight after that weak debate performance against Donald Trump, and new polling continues to show Trump building a steady lead over Biden since that debate. And there are new concerns being raised about Biden's age. Meanwhile, the White House is forcefully denying new reports tonight after the New York Times published a report claiming that the president has told an ally that he is weighing his future in the race. NBC News has not confirmed that reporting, and the White House is also calling it absolutely false. And let's bring in NBC's senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell to help us understand what's going on here. Kelly, we've been hearing from the Biden camp, but we haven't heard from President Biden directly addressing cameras. Any chance that we might see that in the coming days, especially in light of what the concerns are?
Well, the White House says that the president recorded 2 radio interviews with black media outlets that will be out tomorrow. He will do an on-camera televised interview Friday from Wisconsin. So those are 2 new ways. He has talked in the hours after the debate about his performance and has spoken to donors at fundraisers, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of questions about the president addressing this. He will also have a press conference next week when the NATO nations come here to D.C. The U.S. is hosting that summit. So there will be opportunities, and there's a lot of pressure even from Democratic lawmakers to say the president needs to be visible and needs to address these issues publicly. Gadi?
I know the president and his team have been in damage control mode over the last few days, but he did meet with Democratic governors today, right? Did that seem to steady the ship at all?
Well, the president invited about 24 governors from around the country, all Democrats, some meeting by video conference and then others in person, traveling here to the White House. And that was intended to shore up support, to answer their concerns, and to address all of them at one time. Many of them, of course, when you think about it, are potential future candidates for president in the Democratic Party. And so that's an important base. Vice President Harris was added to that meeting, and that certainly adds a sense of the solidarity that the Biden-Harris team is trying to project at a time when many are wondering what comes next. Gadi?
Speaking of that solidarity, this caught my eye. Vice President Kamala Harris on his schedule today for lunch. I mean, to be a fly on that wall as so much is going on around the country, any idea on how that might have gone?
Well, that is a regular meeting, but boy, in this moment, I agree with you. I, too, would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. So the White House doesn't read out the conversations between them, but they talked about it and they put it on the public schedule to make the point that they are working together and in this together. And certainly the vice president has been asked some questions about all of this, and she has said that she is totally with President Biden, and she is ready to do whatever is needed to support him. So, again, they're trying to control damage, answer concerns, and project that things are moving forward. That doesn't solve it for now. Polling certainly has been tough on them, but that's the effort they're trying to do, is to get folks in line and to project some confidence. Gadi?
As the rest of us try to read between the lines, Kelly O'Donnell, thank you so much. And don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, tonight's Cold Case Files. We're going to be talking about a 23-year-old mystery solved in Texas. Officials have discovered who is responsible for the death of a girl by the name of Angel Baby Doe. In a few minutes, we're going to talk to the man behind the DNA lab that cracked that case. Plus, new research has given us a better idea what sounds attract sharks. NBC's Ann Thompson is going to break it all down in tonight's Stay Wild. And the latest TikTok challenge, just in time for summer travel. Can you fly with no movies, no books, no devices, no nothing? And all you have is a flight map showing your progress? Oh, you've already tried it? Well, guess what? We have the OG of distractionless flying, comedian Strider Wilson, joining us a little bit later this hour. So stay tuned.
Flying is where I make decisions, dude. I vividly remember flying south, crossing the border from San Diego into the Baja Peninsula, being like, it's okay to like magic, that's fine.
Hey, welcome back. And here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. There are two missing firefighters that have been found dead in Tennessee. They disappeared from Georgia last month. They were hundreds of miles away from where they were found, and police say both of their bodies were found in one of their cars, but they're not saying anything else as that investigation continues. And Pittsburgh police are investigating a fake bomb threat at the Tree of Life synagogue. Police say it's similar to other threats they've seen against synagogues across the country. Now remember, in 2018, a gunman there killed 11 people. And Delta is apologizing after passengers were served spoiled food on board a flight, and things got so bad they had to divert that plane. The Amsterdam-bound plane diverted to New York as that discovery was made, and flight crews and the pilots making that call after talking with medical experts. There were 300 people on board, but it's not clear how many actually ate the bad food. We know 24 people were evaluated after landing, but all of them refused medical attention. And a Colorado dairy worker is now the fourth person to get the bird flu. The man had direct contact with infected cows, and despite that new case, the CDC is saying the risk for the public is low. More than 100 dairy herds in dozens of states have been infected. And contestants in the annual 4th of July Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest weighed in today. It's ahead of the big competition tomorrow for a $20,000 prize. Notably absent, though, is Joey Chestnut, who has 16 titles under his belt. He can't compete this year because he signed with a plant-based hot dog company. And a Texas cold case over 2 decades old might have finally been solved thanks to some of the latest advancements in DNA testing, and authorities, they think they've cracked the case of Angel Baby Doe. Now, back in 2001, a newborn baby girl was found abandoned and dead on the side of the road. And up until now, the baby's identity had remained a mystery. Using old evidence, scientists were able to successfully build a DNA profile for that child. And earlier this week, police charged a woman they say is the baby's mother with second-degree manslaughter. But here's the most wild part of the outcome of this case. It happened not just because of detective work, but because of crowdfunding, money raised by everyday people who know there are thousands of bodies who have been discovered in this country and then buried without anyone ever knowing who they are. And the company behind that technology and that crowdsourcing is called Othram, and they are starting to solve cases like this at a staggering speed. So joining us now is David Middleman, Othram Chief Executive Officer. David, thank you so much for joining us. Crowdfunding a cold case, how does this work? Is this kind of like GoFundMe?
It's a lot like that, in the same way that you might do a GoFundMe to help someone with their medical bills or something going on in their life. This is like a societal GoFundMe. It's an opportunity for anyone to get involved in helping society at large resolve any number of unidentified persons. And there are tens of thousands of these remains that have not been identified, will not be identified without new technology. And so we're excited to be able to help with any case that we can get worked through the technology and funded through the help of very kind strangers.
And I see Angel Baby Doe on that screen behind you, and I see some other cases there. Can you walk us through how many cases you guys have been solving?
Yeah, it's staggering, not just the number of cases that can be worked, but the velocity. So what you're looking at here is just this week, 5 cases just in the last couple of days, the Baby Doe case that you spoke of earlier, and this velocity continues. So, in the last 30 days, all of these cases, in the last 3 months, tremendous additional cases. And in fact, we have a board where you can see all the cases, and there's just endless examples of people getting answers, justice, and so on. So this is not technology that works some of the time. It's technology that works all of the time. And it's really throttled by the speed at which we can get these cases onboarded and funded. And very often they're funded through government programs at the local, state, and federal level. Sometimes there's a case like this one that just doesn't have the funding. It's not in the budget. The agency can't do it. And we lean on the crowd to get these cases funded and worked.
How much does that technology cost? I mean, how much does it cost to run these DNA samples, and how much do you need to fund from the public?
Yeah, it's a good question. A typical case will cost around $7,500, and so and we'll resolve the case within weeks to months. And so you can imagine that's a small part of any investigative budget. It's a tall order to ask to crowdfund every one of these cases. There are tens of thousands of unidentified remains that need to be addressed. But in comparison to other budgets in the forensic space and the investigative space, certainly something that's tractable. It's probably the fastest and most cost-effective way to identify these people. That you may spend a couple decades, like in this case, unable to identify the child, and yet at the same time still have kind of spent a lot of money and resources to work the case as hard as you can. A simple technology like this can provide an answer very quickly.
David, so let's just pretend like money was not an issue and you had unlimited funding. Like, how many unsolved cases realistically do you think could be solved right now?
It's remarkable. There's 15,000 cases right now in NamUs, which is the national clearinghouse that the National Institute of Justice set up for unidentified remains. And that's probably an underestimate. There's probably 50 to 75,000 unidentified persons in this country. And this is a problem that you could clear out in a few years if you had, no barrier with funding. This is a technology that scales really well. You're working with agencies across the United States. So the DNA profile can be built very quickly, days to weeks. And then you've got the support of agencies all around the country working with investigators that will work each lead and get to an endpoint. So a very scalable process. I don't think it would be unreasonable, even just at our facility, to run at least 10,000 a year. And so you could very quickly clear NamUs, and this whole backlog, this whole idea of a backlog of unidentified remains would be obsolete.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear the term backlog, knowing that the technology exists, that the evidence exists, knowing that people want answers, and still the backlog exists. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully, crowdsourcing, while it seems like a really great idea, it does seem like a Band-Aid on a very big issue. Really appreciate all the work you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sure. And coming up, if you didn't know, there are a lot of sharks here on the California coast, but surprisingly, there aren't as many shark attacks as you'd think, and we're going to tell you why scientists think that's happening. But first, you got to see this. I'm just going to close my eyes for this one because it's about a 6-foot Brazilian rainbow boa constrictor named Ronaldo who gave birth to 14 baby snakes last month. Now, folks at the City of Portsmouth College in England were shocked by those little babies, not because they thought Ronaldo was they actually thought he was a boy, and she turned out to be a girl. She had no contact with another snake for nearly a decade, meaning it looks like Ronaldo underwent a process known as parthenogenesis, where she produced all 14 of those little baby snakes by herself. I guess you could call it immaculate conception. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following right now. The search for a retired L.A. County Sheriff's deputy in Greece has officially been called off. Albert Calabet was disappeared during June 11th while vacationing on a small Greek island. His brother says they have been facing all kinds of obstacles from Greek authorities and gotten very little help from the U.S. Embassy. A State Department spokesperson has acknowledged the reports but didn't give further details due to privacy concerns. And in Arizona, a man has been arrested on suspicion of aggravated assault in the case of his missing wife. Police say she went missing on Sunday, and they're focused on finding her body, and now they think she might have been killed. And LeBron James is returning to the Los Angeles Lakers with a crazy 2-year, $104 million deal, returning for his 22nd season. His son Bronny is going to join him on the Lakers roster this season, making them the first father and son duo to play at the same time in NBA history. And in Arizona, a place that's turned into a battleground in the fight over abortion, advocates for abortion access are celebrating a big win today. It looks like a proposed amendment to put abortion rights straight onto Arizona's constitution might actually make it to the ballot in November. All of this after organizers submitted over 800,000 signatures to state officials today. And the signatures were gathered by over 7,000 volunteers, and hundreds of them showed up outside the state's capital.
This is the most signatures ever submitted by a citizens initiative. 822,460 voter signatures. That is a number. That's a good number. right? This is what a winning campaign looks like. Yeah. This is what democracy looks like.
Now let's bring in NBC's Alex Talbot. Alex, Arizona has had a whole lot of whiplash with the issue of abortion this year, right? So where do things stand right now?
Well, Gadi, the law of the land here in Arizona today is abortion is legal until 15 weeks of pregnancy, and there are no exceptions after those 15 weeks in cases of rape or incest. That was an abortion ban signed into law back in 2022 by then Republican Governor Doug Ducey. This proposed constitutional amendment would expand abortion rights greatly here in the Grand Canyon state. It would make abortion legal through fetal viability, which is typically around 24 weeks of pregnancy, and it would vastly expand the scope for those exceptions. Gadi?
So over 800,000 Arizonans signed this petition, right? Can you break down the numbers there? Those numbers are huge.
It really is a historic haul, Gadi. The previous record for the number of signatures gathered for a ballot initiative here in Arizona was about 500,000 signatures. They shattered that record with this 823,000 or so signature haul. That's about 1 in every 5 voters, registered voters here in Arizona signing this petition. And it's important to note, Gadi, that this isn't the only state that handed in signatures today. In Nebraska, volunteers also handed in their own batch of signatures to get a constitutional amendment onto that state's ballot. And we could see abortion on the ballot in as many as 11 states in November.
Yeah, so what's next here? Is there anything stopping this from making it onto the ballot?
So the Arizona Secretary of State has until August 27th to validate each of those signatures. That means looking signature by signature, making sure there are no duplicates, making sure that everyone who signed is actually a voter, registered voter here in Arizona. I talked to Arizona's Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, this morning about some of the other challenges this might face before making it onto the ballot. I want you to listen to what he had to say.
Well, number of signatures isn't the only threshold. I mean, I would imagine that somebody's going to be litigating the actual nature of the initiative in the first place through the courts. So there's still those kinds of battles that are going to be taking place. This is just the start. For the folks who've been collecting signatures, this is an important milestone. But as far as the formal process is concerned, this is day one.
So I've been in contact with with a couple of the groups that are opponents of abortion rights here in Arizona, and they say they have a group of lawyers on retainer ready to challenge this constitutional amendment in hopes of preventing it from making it on the ballot. I don't want to get too wonky here, but the language in this proposed constitutional amendment says that after fetal viability, after about 24 weeks of pregnancy, a woman can get an abortion in the event that her mental or physical health is in danger. Opponents of abortion rights are pointing to that mental health language, saying it's too susceptible to abuse. How can you prove if somebody is actually going through a mental health crisis? That seems to be their legal strategy, arguing that language is too vague to be in the Arizona state constitution. Gadi?
Important caveat there. Alex, thank you so much. And scientists in California are trying to figure out why this state has so many sharks, but so few shark attacks. And we're not complaining. We just want some answers. And one group of researchers is now tackling that problem by running tests on shark hearing. NBC's Ann Thompson went out on the water to see and hear for herself.
Chris Lowe's great white shark research in Southern California is built on tagging.
Oh, there it is. I see it. We're going to do the do-si-do, Whitney. Wow. This was the rod that the acoustic tag was attached to, and the shark bent the rod.
Lowe leads the Shark Lab at Cal State Long Beach, tracking where and when these powerful apex predators swim. Technological advances adding to the lab's 60-year pursuit of knowledge. Today's growing shark population is helped by almost 3 decades of conservation.
When I was a grad student here in the late 80s, hearing about white sharks along the beaches was rare. Now, any day of the week, I can take someone out and show them a white shark.
We saw several.
Whoa, that's a big one.
Drones revealing juvenile great whites swim near people 97% of the time off of Carpinteria Beach with no attacks.
We saw a shark here in the water, and I'm watching people, and nobody seems to be the least concerned that there are sharks 250 feet away from them.
This is a great example of a community that has just come to adapt to the fact that there are white sharks off their beach every day.
Tucked between Santa Barbara and L.A., Carpinteria is billed as the safest beach in the world, free of riptides, not sharks.
Most of the time, we literally see sharks swim right underneath people. They don't change their speed. They don't change their direction. They just completely ignore them.
Because we're not their natural prey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not food for them.
Exactly. If that were the case, then Southern California would be Costco for white sharks.
Now the question is why? Lowe's theory, these juvenile great whites get used to human sounds and realize we are not a threat.
Sharks don't have ears like we do. Instead of external, theirs are internal, designed to capture sound that travels faster underwater.
I'm going to drop it about a meter off of the boat.
So master's student Whitney Jones is giving the sharks a hearing test.
Do sharks hear differently than we do?
They're more sensitive to lower frequencies than we are. It's more like they can feel versus hear the sound.
Jones recorded sounds of people paddling surfboards, kayaking, and swimming.
So I'm doing the swimming playback one more time.
Using an underwater speaker, she's playing the sounds at different levels and distances. A drone tracks the sharks' reactions.
We're thinking that they're probably habituated to most of these sounds, so there won't really be any responses. But if there are, I want to be able to catch that with the drone.
An experiment that will go on until November.
We all know that sharks can smell blood in the water. That's the old cliche. What is it that they hear?
So that's the part we don't really know much about. We still don't really know how far away they can detect those things. Hopefully with these kinds of experiments, we can start to answer that.
Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Fascinating, Ann, thank you. And coming up, a lot of accusations are being flung about who exactly was behind that failed coup last week in Bolivia. And on the short list, Bolivia's current president. We're going to tell you all about that after the break, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. In China, an escalation of its ongoing fight with Taiwan is going on. China says it seized a Taiwanese boat that was caught illegally fishing in its territorial waters overnight. The boat had 5 crew members on board and is currently being held at a port at the mainland Chinese coast. And we've got some disturbing video from a soccer match in Germany. It appears to show a security guard repeatedly kicking and punching a fan at the game where Portugal was playing Slovenia in Frankfurt on Monday. Now, it's not known what caused that incident, but German authorities are now investigating. And while many European countries are considering a 4-day work week, Greece has become the first EU nation to introduce a 6-day work week. That measure went into effect yesterday, and right now it's only for some private businesses. But officials say they made that controversial move to boost productivity amid labor shortages and a shrinking population. And Panama's new president, Jose Raul Mulino, was just sworn into office, and he is promising to crack down on migration through its southern border with Colombia. It's where more than 500,000 people have crossed, coming from neighboring countries like Venezuela and Ecuador. And under a new agreement, the U.S. has agreed to pay for flights back to send migrants back to their countries. And politicians in Britain are making their final case before voters head to the polls tomorrow to elect a new parliament and with it a new prime minister. And polls are suggesting it will be a landslide victory for the center-left Labour Party. Though today, Prime Minister Sunak remained defiant.
We have 24 hours left. We do not surrender to Labour. We will fight for every vote. We will fight for our values, and we will fight for our vision of Britain.
All right, so here's who controls Britain's parliament and why it actually matters to us. Britain is the 6th largest economy in the world, and many see the country as Washington's closest ally, especially with conflicts overseas. They also have a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, often siding with the United States on key issues. So let's go to NBC's Raf Sanchez with the very latest.
Hey there, we are in the final 24 hours of this British election campaign, and this time tomorrow we should have a pretty good sense who is going to walk through that famous black door of number 10 Downing Street as Britain's Prime Minister. The polls are suggesting very strongly it is going to be the leader of the centre-left Labour Party, Keir Starmer. But what we've been finding talking to people is not so much that there is overwhelming enthusiasm for Starmer or for his party, as much as people are absolutely exhausted of the ruling Conservatives. They've been in charge for the last 14 years, and the last 8 of those have been a period of just unprecedented political chaos in this country. That began with that 2016 Brexit referendum, when the UK voted to leave the European Union. Since then, you have had 4 consecutive Conservative prime ministers forced to resign, including Boris Johnson, who you might remember forced out of office after breaking his own COVID lockdown rules and holding illegal parties here at Downing Street. So it is looking likely that Friday morning, Keir Starmer will be the new Prime Minister of the UK. He is a centrist. He is a strong supporter of NATO and Ukraine. There is every reason to think, in terms of personality, in terms of policy, in terms of politics, that he would be very compatible with President Biden. But 6 months from now, he could find himself sitting across the table from a second-term President Donald Trump, someone who does not agree with him on much of that international worldview. And that could be one of the first major tests for that new British Prime Minister. Back to you.
Ralph Sanchez, thank you. And today the White House is saying it had zero involvement with last week's attempted coup in Bolivia. And now the country's top military commander is saying the failed coup came about after Bolivia's president asked him to do something to boost his popularity. Here's NBC's Marissa Parr with the latest developments.
For hours, all eyes were on Bolivia, seemingly under an attempted coup d'etat. On June 26, armored vehicles ramming against the presidential palace in the capital city of La Paz, with the president inside. Smoke bombs and tear gas filling the streets. General Juan Zuniga seemingly leading the siege. President Luis Arce, known as Lucho, coming out of the palace to confront the general face-to-face, demanding he stand down. On the streets outside, people chanted, "Lucho, the people stand by you." And General Zuniga was taken away. Arce stood triumphant with a raised fist in front of an adoring crowd. But as Zuniga was being arrested, the general claimed to a crowd of cameras that the president put him up to it, saying President Arce asked him to stage a coup to boost his own popularity. Former President Evo Morales, who will face Arce in an election next year, initially stood by the president. But now Morales joining Zuniga's claim, writing, Arce deceived and lied to the Bolivian people and the world, calling for a complete and independent investigation.
¿Cómo engañó al mundo?
What kind of coup has 0 injuries, 0 shootings, and 0 deaths?
It seems to me that regardless of what actually happened, because it actually doesn't matter that much for Evo Morales, who wants to be president again, that simply jumping on that bandwagon clearly will weaken his rival.
Eric Langer, professor of history at Georgetown University, says regardless of what is true, taking any stance is political. The U.S. State Department careful in its response to NBC News.
We're continuing to monitor the situation in Bolivia, as I imagine many in the international community are. We understand and have taken note the number of viewpoints that have emerged in recent days, and we welcome independent analysis into the events of June 26th.
As calls for an independent investigation grow louder, Arce's government has denied all claims. Arce fighting back, responding online, clearly what happened was a failed military coup. So far, at least 21 have been arrested, according to the Bolivian government, facing charges of terrorism and starting an armed uprising. But with Bolivia still in a dire financial crisis and an election between Arce and Morales next year, the people of Bolivia uneasy about what lies ahead.
The long-term impact on Bolivia is greater instability. And what that means is that the ability for Bolivia to get out of the economic mess is much less so, because they are now in a political mess much greater than they were before.
Marissa Parr, NBC News.
So many questions, Marissa. Thank you. And before we go, it is time for the future of everything. And today, we're going to tell you about a new future of travel, kind of. You might have heard of this. People are basically challenging themselves to not do anything during their entire flight, not even listen to music, not even watch a movie. And joining us to talk about it is comedian Strider Wilson, who might have actually started this entire trend in the first place. That's coming up after the break. Okay, and as fate would have it, one time I was on a flight with Strider as he was headed to Cabo with his boys, JT and Chad. So who better to invite on to talk about this today, the one and only Strider Wilson in the studio. Thanks so much for coming, brother. Okay, question for me, and you saw my comments. I mean, like, I tried this, could not make it past 7 minutes. Why do this if the Wi-Fi is working?
I mean, dude, being in altitude at 30K feet, it's a gift from the universe to just dog your thoughts, dude. I like to sit there, look at that map channel, great progress, and do high stakes thinking in altitude. Why am I going to read a book, dude? If it doesn't smell good or pop up or have a surface I can touch, I'm out. I mean, I can read, but I tire out. I just like to dog my thoughts up there in the air, dude. Challenge my dome, you know?
Now, I haven't seen any official rules on this yet, but in your revered, like, almighty opinion, as the godfather of all of this, how long do you have to do this before it truly counts?
You got to do it from takeoff, like as soon as your wheels are up to wheels down. Oof. That's the true raw dogging of the flight, dude. And preferably you're in cargo shorts, dude. Preferably no luggage. Just sitting up there and just making decisions about life.
Now, I know this is gonna make a lot of people mad, but like the people that pull out their phones to get that shot of them dogging, is that a technicality there?
This is a good question, dude. I mean, I'm all about shared experiences. When I was doing this, I never even intended it for it to take off. I was just talking about it. My buddy Ken saw me doing it. That's who said he was going to put me on a watch list. And I go, you know what? Maybe this could be something. I sort of did the acoustic version. DJs are posting it now, remixing it. So I'm fired up. It's literally taken off.
The acoustic, the a cappella version of just staring straight ahead. Okay, so what do you do if someone tries to talk to you?
You just look straight forward. That's when you dive into the map channel. Maybe you switch to horizon mode. You know, the stewardess comes by, offers you some, tomato juice or a ginger ale. You just clear your throat, refresh map channel, boom.
What if you get the window seat? I mean, you're up there. You're having these big thoughts. You're looking down at Earth. Are you allowed to, stare down at what you see below?
Absolutely. That's freaking God's map that you're looking at. Hopefully you're flying over the Grand Canyon, looking down, going pretty sick. You ask yourself, hey, what deep moment in my life am I in? That's looking back in time, technically. So that's some of the most epic raw dogging you can do is looking out that window.
And now, how did you feel after your longest sesh?
I felt amazing. I mean, that's when I decided that I liked magic. I thought that, being an adult man, I would be, being tricked by another guy, maybe being dominated. I decided I appreciate it for the sleight of hand, and that's pretty tight. It's kind of regal of me.
It is kind of regal of you. I mean, it's the thing of pharaohs.
Thank you.
Thing of kings, they all thought the same thing.
Dude, thank you.
Sleight of hand.
Right now, I'm deciding, is it okay to listen to techno alone? Is that a weird... Honestly, I'm debating, is it an okay fashion statement for me to have a chain necklace?
Dude, a little bit of Darude, the sandstorm when you're up there, but that would violate the rules of,
Yeah, not when you're up there. No, this would
wait for it when you get back down to Earth.
Exactly. When my wife's out at game night or something, you just post up, listen to techno alone.
Last question, what does your wife think when you just stare straight ahead?
Dude, you know what? We actually do a little couples travel hack. We kind of like to get, if we can, because I'm a tall guy, I mentioned I'll sit middle seat, it's fine, but opposing aisle seats. So she'll be doing her own thing, and I'm doing my own thing. So it's all about just being in your space, in your lane, and loving it.
And then you guys have the middle seat.
Yeah.
To put your stuff in.
Exactly. Ideally. You know what I'm saying?
Go.
And dude, whenever I need to think, I'll book a quick flight from freaking Burbank to LAX. Just think it out. You know what I'm saying?
The 15 minutes just to stare out the window, clear your head.
Sometimes I got it.
Look straight ahead.
100%, dude.
Awesome. Are you going to dog all the way home?
100%. No question, dude. You can dog in traffic, no radio, air conditioned blasting. Maybe you clear your throat. Think.
I'm gonna try, man. More than 7 minutes is my goal here. Strider, bro, thank you so much for coming out. I'll start another trend so we can talk about it.
Dude, I'm trying. Dude, you're the man, dude. Having me on here, so sick, dude. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it. Our hello to Chad and JT, too.
Oh, dude, what up?
Thanks so much, brother. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.